Hello, happy Monday, writers. Welcome back to your Monday Morning Jumpstart. And the dynamic duo is back. Hello, Ted.
It's good to see you, Jade. It is very good to see you. I'm
It
glad
is
you're
so
back.
good. Well, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to see you. It makes me so happy. And I'm glad to deliver to everybody today. Ted, when we're talking to people right now, it's 1 month into the year. Often the drive for your New Year's goals and resolutions has
Yeah,
fatigued. The gym is a little emptier.
yeah, we talked
um,
about that. Yeah.
so what is your recommendation for people that might be losing that spark and that drive for goals that they might have set about a month ago?
Yeah, I think it's just time to check in. It's interesting when I do goal setting with people, one of the things that I say to them just about goal setting, not about the actual setting goals, but like to see goals through, the idea of just checking back in with the goals is one of the most effective things. It may seem mundane or it may seem the obvious, but like if you're not checking in on the progress of the goal in a meaningful way, you're missing something, right? And so I appreciate what you're saying. The truth of the matter is there's a portion of people that set out, the whole new year, new me thing, and they set some audacious goals, maybe audacious goals. But in any event, they set some goals. Some people have fallen off and other people are kind of moving them along. Some people may be knocking them out of the park. But today is not today, but I think a month in would be a good time to slow down and go, here's the question I want people to ask. Did I set the right goals?
Mhm.
Did I set meaningful goals? Did I set goals that are going to actually get me to where I want to go, which then would pause you to say, there's a bigger plan here. There's a vision here. Do my goals line up with where I want to go in 2024 and all the rest of that? And then check in where you are emotionally on the goals. So I don't know how that lands with you, but there's a lot of people right now that I think if they slowed down, they go, okay, well, yeah, I did the whole thing. I'm going to get healthier and whatever.
Yeah.
Did they understand why? Or did they just say, they need to fit into a new pair of jeans? That's not going to get you to where you want to go.
Or was it the thing that everybody writes down on the first of the year? You know what I mean? Like, are you really emotionally attached to this thing, or does it just one of the, richer, skinnier, healthier, those
Yeah,
the goals that
yeah,
everybody writes
yeah,
down? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's funny to your point about like it just popped in my head when you said, "Is it what everybody else says?" When I sat down, and I really wasn't doing it in a cliche way, but I sat down with my 10 and 11-year-old and my wife on New Year's Day. Right, we're having dinner, and I said, "So, what do you guys want out of the year?" And I really was looking for feedback from my
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want more from mom and dad? Where are we missing going into 2024? But
Yeah,
trying to
same
get them to
thing.
think about, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
same thing.
where are we screwing up as parents and da da
Yeah.
da. In any event, I get to my wife and I asked the same thing with my sons, like, what do you want to do in 2024? And she said something I so did not expect. She said, I want to spend more money. And I went, whoa, like, are you kidding me? Like,
That's
and you
answer.
said that in front of
Yeah,
our kids, like you
yeah.
want to spend more money. Well, and then we peeled it back. And really what she was saying was she wanted to be more adventurous. She
Mm-hmm.
wanted our family after the pandemic to catch the rhythm again of getting out into the world and experiencing different things is really what she was saying, and to live freely. Like, we've done certain things, we've set ourselves up to experience things, and
Yes.
yet we're still a little bit skittish.
Yeah. What is
We're
it all
still a
for
bit,
if you're holding it so close to your chest? Yes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Love
brings me to, one of the things that we've talked about. I think we've been doing so many of these jump starts but I would say over a year ago we talked about the concept of war, if you
Yeah.
remember. What's at risk? And it's
Yeah.
just something that like I'd love to reintroduce when you're doing this check-in, because I think it's if you're going after a goal, sometimes we jump off because you're a little bit scared. And if I use that one, now that I'll just stay on the thread of my wife saying spend more money. Me, the person that you and everybody listening to us has heard, I care deeply about my family. I also fear death, and I worry about their financial stability when I'm not here, if I should not be here, and all the rest of it. When she said that, I think it jolted me. Like, are you kidding me? Like, but it's like the what's at risk is you. Sometimes we get crippled when we say what's at risk if I do certain things, or if I, put forth more energy towards a certain thing. We will go as human beings go to the negative. Like, well, if I do that, then this is what's going to happen over here. right? I remember talking about it on Monday Morning Jumpstart over a year ago, or whenever it was. People that are thinking about starting a writing career or taking that AWAI course, and they go, well, if I do this, then I'm going to lose out over here. And so what do? They just don't do anything, right? And what we propose is that the more important question, the deeper question is, what's at risk if I don't? So in this situation, what's at risk if I spend an extra $500 a month on, adventure with my family? Well, easily I could go to, well, that $500 a month is $6,000 a year, and my kid's going to college in 6 years. That's a whole year of school, college. I could easily do. I just did it.
Yeah.
The more important question is, in 6 years, am I going to be sending away my kid to school without feeling connected to his family and missed out on all those? So that question, what's at risk if I don't, is probably the more important question for people to be asking themselves right now. So in other words, there's a lot of risk if I continue down the path of trying to achieve this goal, and I'm scared and all the rest of it, right? Or I'm going to go broke if I spend more money. The more important question that sometimes will propel us into action is, what's at risk if I don't? And in this case, as much as that jolted me, my wife was spot on.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Spend more money.
Because I also think it's good to look at your initial goals through this lens, because sometimes you can have an idea or something, but don't you lose that spark for it so quickly, right? Like you said, not only can you talk yourself down from it, but if you give yourself a couple of days without doing anything about it, you lose it, right? You forget about it. You're not willing to take that risk that you're talking about in the negative. And you focus more just on you get back into the cycle, I should say, right? You get back into the things keep going because that voice has been dampened almost. And if you think about, if you're hard on it and you think about what happens if I don't do this, you're so much more likely to take that action to do that thing. And once you're on that path, like Rebecca's thing, you can never go back, right? In the best possible way. And I mean that in the most positive way. Like, you grow more, you learn more, you do more. It's self-fulfilling to know that I actually achieve goals, which I think is another huge feeling that everybody needs to feel to themselves, not to anybody else, So I think it really can help to re-spark that fire that dims so easily, in our lives. And I wonder what you think about this on top of that, Ted. I was reading something by a psychologist who said that, I know you're all about action as well, and just talking about the differences between setting goals passively and planning out goals. Okay. So like you're saying that like a vision board is super passive, right? Just writing down even, $100,000 this year is super passive, but actually mapping out every day what you're going to do, and making that plan is so much more active, that you're so much more likely to do the thing and to achieve the goal. And I feel like double down, and wherever you're doing this, you put real bold, like what's at risk if you don't. I don't know how you don't do that thing if that's what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you just talked about is something that I speak to often under this, but I mean, I don't think we planned on talking about this today, but this idea of having people really ponder the goals versus outcomes. And so the vision board for me are outcomes.
Yes.
They are not goals. And I think people get confused. So they make this vision board and they say, my goal is to own that car, or my goal is the $100,000 or whatever. And I'm like, no, those are outcomes of incremental movement toward, like, all these goals put together will get you here.
Yes.
Like even AWAI knows this, because I work with AWAI, but you can put out, or any of you listening to us today, you could call a revenue goal. You could say you're going to go try to make $50,000 in your writing. The more important thing but that doesn't propel action, to your point.
Yes.
It doesn't. Like, now you have to put a subset of goals that I would propose are going to get you the outcome of $50,000. So I would rather people say, what's my overarching outcome? Don't call it a goal. Say the outcome of these goals coming to fruition or me achieving these goals is going to get me $50,000. To your point, now I think you have a mapped out road plan of goals that will then reach that $50,000.
And next to that outcome, we're going to now layer in what's at risk if I don't do this thing, you know?
Amen. Which is the big question for people right now. Like, did you go deep enough when coming up with what was going to be most important for you this year? Did you go deep enough? Did you think deep enough? To your point, did you just write down something that sounded sexy to somebody else or whatever? Or, you know, this is what I'm going to do this year. Did you go deep enough?
Yeah.
Did you understand? Is it a meaningful enough goal?
Yeah. Yeah. And ask those around you. That's what we did. They'll tell you some truth. That's for sure. If they love you, they'll give you some truth as well about those goals and outcomes. So, I mean, I feel like today's homework is pretty obvious, right? Is to reassess whatever you've done through these lenses.
And if you've done nothing, now's the time to do something.
Yeah, and it's, I mean,
we can't make the assumption that everybody came up with goals. You know, we can't make the assumption that everybody came up with goals. I think it's unwise. As much as I say I'm not a New Year's resolution person, like I don't really go through that. I absolutely sit down and go, hey, how'd I do in 2023? Yes. What do I need to do a little bit differently in 2024? And I do come up with some overarching goals. And then I got to come up with some rhythms behind it. So if you've done nothing, please slow down and do something by the way of planning.
No, but I think that's brilliant because it doesn't have to always be on January 1st or December 31st that these happen. It can be today, can be the day that's such a good message. Yeah,
agreed.
And will be.
Agreed.
Okay, well, today doesn't mean next time we're going to talk about something else that is pretty inevitable in life, and that is change, even though we don't like it very much. But we will see everybody then. Thank you, Ted.
See you next week.